Good morning. It's Sunday, August 22nd, 2021, and I just wanted to capture our garden this year. So right here in the beginning, this year Clay added a little footbridge here so we can get across the gully. And then we got set up. Clay built me this little shed starting last year, and then he's been finishing up this year. Still got a few more shingles to do. Here's the dehydrators that are set up out front. And then I'll take you to the dehydrators here. Or I'm sorry, the little shed. And you can see, really nice for putting all my shovels and rakes and stuff. And then this is where I tried to start some stuff, but I think that not getting enough sunlight might be low E windows. I'm not sure. And then the dehydrators, which are out front here, will get stored in this little shed too. And I really am grooving on it and thinking I might even hang out here in early spring when things aren't really going yet, but the shed would be warmer than being outside. All right. So here's the garden, and it's been a super dry year, but I can't believe how well we've done with growing things. We watered one time in just a few rows, hand watered, and yet we still have all this lush vegetation. So right here in front is planting of oats that I did. So we collected milky oats off of it, and then there's obviously some here that we'll harvest for dry oats too. And then these rows here are calendula, and they're a little closed up right now because it's early in the morning, but this calendula is one of my favorites. It can be used for making tea, or it can also be used for skin rashes or things like that. It can help with healing that. It has like kind of antiseptic properties to it. And then the real reason I wanted to film today is because I was going to harvest the bachelor's buttons here, and they were just so beautiful. I had to come out and film them before, because once I pick them, this area looks pretty just green, and the colors are just beautiful. This is one of my favorite flowers, and it just is so prolific because I've harvested off of these probably 3 times now, and more flowers come on, and they are really loving this warm weather and the dry temperatures. So I think it's kind of a Mediterranean type of plant. And I use these mainly just to for teas, and they kind of add some color. I can also put them in like sachets or stuff to kind of add a pretty color to the tea. And then over here is our corn, and again, really surprising how well I mean, this is not Iowa corn by any means. I mean, it's shorter than I am, but we are getting some sweet corn in, and we'll have enough for us anyway. And most of this got blown over right at the very beginning, so I'm just really amazed that we've been able to get this much corn after little rain and kind of some major wind drama too. And then here's our rows of sunflowers, and this is just kind of a mix This is one of my favorite, the lemon bicolor, kind of with a little bit of a pink or reddish tint to them. This, I just planted seeds that I had harvested off of previous years. So like this looks like Autumn Joy possibly, but they're obviously hybridized ones. Yeah, there's a big one back there. That's the teddy bear back there. And so a lot of mix, but again, pretty and cheap because I didn't have to buy seeds to plant all of this. But yeah, I really like these bicolor ones. They're really neat looking. And then Clay's getting ready for next year, starting to stockpile compost from the other side of the farm. And this got kind of weedy. This is my perennial bed, but we did have a pretty good crop of bergamot, which can be used for tea. One thing that's weird is that even with this being a dry year, they kind of got this powdery mildew on them. So I was only able to harvest for a little while, and then once it gets that mildew on it, you can't use it. But it was real pretty when this was in bloom, is all that purple flower that you see there. And next year we'll have to just do better about keeping up with weeds. And then this is our vegetable side. So this is kind of the south side of the patch. And you can see that it's really just growing like crazy. And these are a couple of the rows that we watered one time. And you can there's still just like crazy growth on it. So kind of a mix here. We got some pumpkins coming in. Oh, it looks like someone's eating our pumpkins. This one actually has its flower still on it. But they're called Weeby Little. They're just little tiny pumpkins. And then we've got some cucumbers here. This row's cucumbers. And watermelon. I actually have here, I don't know if they're gonna make it, but a little baby watermelon's coming in. These are small, they're sugar babies, so they only get like the size of a softball or so it potentially could make it. And then we got some spaghetti squash in here and acorn squash. And then we also have zucchini growing in this. This row is our tomatoes, and that's one thing we may not... Oh, I guess we're getting some green ones coming in here. So we might make it. Last year, I had to put row cover over it just because we started to get frost before my tomatoes had started to ripen. But again, we only watered these once, and super dry year. And then this is our lettuce and cabbage, and clearly a deer has gotten in here and eaten our lettuce. It was past prime anyway, but here's carrots growing. And then this is chamomile. This was the German chamomile. Did not do very well. But then this row here is Zotera chamomile, and it did a lot better. I need to get out and harvest it. This row here with these kind of cool flowers this is the Dyer's Coreopsis. So it can be used, you dry it and then you can use it as a dye. It makes kind of a yellow dye to it. And these were a couple of experimental rows. So I tried just as a cut flower. It's called phlox. This is a real pale colored flower. It's kind of neat. And then here we have basil. And I tried some purple basil too. And that turned out really pretty, especially when I dry it. It'll look nice in teas. And then I had a bunch of zinnias that I had harvested, and I was kind of running out of time, but wanted to make sure the garden got filled up. And the zinnias are just so happy this year. They like this really warm, dry climate, and you can just see they are loaded this year. I think this is the best year I've ever had zinnias. Usually they're kind of wimpy and sparse, and like the rows are just great and they're full of flowers. And I would just use these for cut flowers. I usually give bouquets to people at the beginning of the school year and keep a bouquet in the yard, or in our house, I mean. And then this crop here is indigo. And again, I'm super surprised at this. It looks a little rough. It does have this kind of curled edge, and I think it's just because it's been so dry. But I tried to start this in the little shed because it does have a longer growing season, and the plants were just spindly, and I'm like, they're not gonna make it. But I mean, look at this, like 5 rows of it, and it's pretty dense. So it's probably better than the harvest that I had last year when I just tried it for the first time. So we'll see if I get a better dye result from this year. All right, and then so that's kind of the garden, and then I just wanted to real quick show the native planting area. Oh yeah, this is just empty spot. We ran out of time this summer getting stuff planted, and we didn't get in until late because it was kind of cold and wet, and I was busy finishing my PhD, so I did not get as much work done as I normally do in the garden. But next year is going to be a big garden year. So we are looking at some possibilities of lavender, adding lavender to our operation, and possibly some flax. So we're going to be trialing those next summer and seeing how that works. And then this is our native planting area. So we plant this right next to our garden to help with pollinators and just create some more habitat for things like things that are beneficial, like lacewings and things that prey on garden pests. And you can see here we have wild bergamot here, and then the coneflower this year was just amazing. And again, mainly I think because of happiness that the climate was more like what a lot of these prairie flowers like. And actually it was a little bit better like a week ago. It's kind of starting to die off a little bit. So with the drought conditions, like everything is early, like we're even starting to lose leaves off the trees already. So anyway, just wanted to give you a overview of the garden and record it for prosperity. Yeah. Okay. See you later.